Hey, this is WhyBeAre with BeamNG.drive, and today we're going to be taking a look at a mod for the Moonhawk called Boat. Yes, it is literally just called Boat, and it looks like a boat in the thumbnail, but it doesn't really look like a Moonhawk. When you spawn it up though, you can clearly see that is in fact a Moonhawk, and at the same time, that is in fact a boat. And yes, it can drive on both land and water, but for driving on land, the first thing you want to do is disable the boat engine because you don't need it going off when you're just trying to do normal driving. And for normal driving, it isn't that great because it has the inline-6 engine. It's like the worst engine you can get in a Moonhawk. It feels bigger and sloppier than normal because of all the boat parts on it. It scrapes a little bit when you brake hard, but it does drive. I mean, that's what's important, is that it does drive. And to show you that it scrapes when you brake hard, here's a little bit of slow motion going on, and then just watch the front as it dips hard. And there are the sparks coming off as it scrapes along the ground. Also, you need to watch out for going over corners. Wow. That was actually perfect braking, just coincidentally. Like, I was that close to hitting the wall. But as I was saying, you also need to watch out when you're going over corners, like this thing right here. You can get caught on that a little bit. Yeah, we just got caught on it a little bit. Deformed the boat a little, so we'll reset it and make sure we drive around it. There we go, nice and safe. Now I'm going to show you guys the worst possible way to launch this thing into the water. Then maybe I'll show you some better ways of doing it. So what's the worst way? Hey, look at that ramp. That looks fun, doesn't it? It's fun, but is it gonna work? Half the time it does, half the time it doesn't. So it looks like the engine is still attached. So hopefully we can still do some boating around here. Well, let's find out. Whoops, got to turn the engine off. Now we find out using just the boat engine, and we aren't really moving. So the big old jump did destroy the boat. Thankfully, we can just go ahead and get a new one. And now we can do some serious boating. Well, we need to turn off the regular engine one more time. And now we're actually ready to do the boating. And the biggest complaint I have about the boat is that it does not go in a straight line. So to demonstrate this, here it is kind of just coasting. You see it's going a little bit to the right now. And then if I accelerate, it's going to start pulling hard to the left. I am not steering to the left. That's just what happens when you accelerate with the boat engine. So you're going to always be steering a little bit to the right, trying to keep this thing straight. It's a little annoying, but I can deal with it. It's not a huge issue. And then for speed, it's fast enough. It's by no means a speedboat. And if you believe the speedometer, we're going about 20 miles per hour, which that seems maybe a little optimistic, but close to reasonable. Maybe more like 15 miles per hour if I had to guess, because I know for a fact the speedometer is not accurate, because the second we started accelerating, it read 20 miles per hour instantly, and I know that's not the case. Now, let's try to get this thing back on the land. The first thing we're going to try is going up the little dock over here. I don't think this will actually work, but I have to try it and see what happens. Ideally, we'll be able to scrape the bottom of the boat and get up here, but I think what's really going to happen, we're just going to crash right into it. So let's see what's happening here. Yep, just crashed right into it. Okay, so to actually get this thing on the land, we need to go and find the land and probably just drive up the beach. That's going to be the way to do it. And to do that, it's a little bit away when you're driving this slow. So tell you what, I'll tell you how long it takes to get there, and I'll be back when I get there. And 50 seconds later, here we are. So if you really wanted to figure out how fast you're going, you could take those 2 points and calculate it out. I'm not too worried about it though, because I feel pretty comfortable with my estimates of the speed. So now, turn the engine back on, turn the boat engine off, and we should be able to drive right out of the water. Nice and smooth there. That was flawless. How easily this thing went from boat to car. Especially considering how dirty it was the first time when I tried to go from car to boat and wrecked it. Let's do it a little bit cleaner this time. We're just going to drive straight into the water like this, and I think we should have a functional boat doing it like this, and I wonder if it will maintain much momentum. No, we will not. We will get slowed down almost instantly to about boat speeds. The water does kind of feel like molasses in that aspect. You would expect it kind of like skip along a little bit or something because it has that boat underbody. It just comes to a stop though. And the speedometer completely wrong. There's no way we're going 33 miles per hour. It's the same as before. So I'm trying to get back over to the land so you can keep on driving with this thing. And then we turn the engine back on. I don't know if we're quite there with the wheels yet, but we should be close. All right, we got traction, boat engine off. And now we'll just drive through the beach over to a fun little area. So this is one example of what a boat looks like, but boats take many shapes and forms. For example, over here, we have lots of other kinds of boats that look equally as nice as mine. But joke's on them. Those boats can't drive on the land all on their own. Well, my boat can. And that's pathetic. You call yourself a boat and you can't even drive on land? Heh, I can do both. Right into the water, we switch the power source, and we're good to go. And now I can go park in between the boats and hang out with my boat friends. And then when we're done, we hang out with my car friends. It works great. Let's see if we can squeeze on in between these two. There's a pretty big gap there. Or not, we're churning a lot. How about in between these two instead? I should mention, this isn't the easiest thing to handle. It's a very sloppy boat, but it gets the job done. Hello, other boats. How are you doing? Sorry about that. You know me. I'm half car. I'm a little destructive when I'm in a boat. And you zoom out a little bit and look. You wouldn't even know it was a car. You wouldn't even... Okay, you wouldn't know that's a car. You would know something's up with that boat. It's so much different than all the other ones. Alright, so let's go ahead and bring this thing back over to paved roads. And let's talk about the crash physics for the vehicle. They are very, very basic, and as far as I can tell, you can't really damage the boat in a way where it won't float. So we can crash into the wall like that, the whole front end is kind of smashed up, and then we can go ahead and damage up the sides as well, although it's a little bit easier to do that if I have some help. So instead of trying to just slide this thing into the wall, I'm going to go ahead and spawn up another vehicle to slam into it. So how about just a ESBR 800, something that has real fast acceleration and can just smack at it at 60 miles per hour with very little space required. So here we go. First impact. Speedometer reads 80. Don't trust it. That was just wheel spin happening there. And that was hard enough to actually break the front left axle on this vehicle. So that was a pretty good impact though. And I think we have enough control to do a couple more. Let's see. Can we get to it? Yes, there's another front impact. I wasn't planning on it being a front impact, but I don't really have much control. So that's why we have a new car, which we will have control over. For this next one, we could try a rear impact, and then maybe we'll do one more side impact, and we'll throw it in the water and see what happens. And for that final side impact, it's got to be fast. So I'm going to go all the way to the end of this road, which isn't actually that far at all. But it'll give me enough room to get up to probably about 70 miles per hour, and don't worry about that. That was a controlled crash where I didn't care if it crashed. So here we go. Speedometer's probably pretty close to accurate in that situation. So that was about 70 to 80 miles per hour probably. And now, can we drive it? Unfortunately, no. I think too much of the boat is touching the ground, so we just can't get traction. But we can teleport it into the water still and see if it'll still float. And... what? What the heck? I've never seen this before. This is new. It's floating. I said I've never seen it not be able to float. I've also never seen it spin like a top before, but here we are watching it do both. That's really interesting. Okay. Now how about we tone it down a little bit? That was one beat up boat, but what if it just has some damage? Like we crash into the wall at 60 miles per hour and put it in the water. Will that be enough to cause it to glitch out? I don't think it will be, because like I said earlier, that was the first time I've ever seen anything like that. So putting it in the water, it looks okay. Can it accelerate? Well, first off, we gotta shut down the engine. And now, can it accelerate? Yes. Unfortunately, I don't have steering, so all we can do is just spin in circles. So we're doing water donuts. Is that a thing? It is now. Water donuts. Yeah, we're doing them. Although I noticed one thing kind of interesting when I put it in the water. It might have just been the way it landed in the water, but it looked like the rear end really dipped down when I teleported it. You can see it right there. That looked really unusual. Like the rear slapped down where the rest of it didn't seem to want to do that. So this vehicle is doing some really weird things with like densities and aerodynamics and all that to make it actually float. When it's a full boat, it falls pretty normal, but when it's damaged, it just does whatever it wants. Like now it's spinning upside down. I don't know why it's doing this, but it's doing it. I really do like the little details on this thing though. It has the railing in the front. It has the exhaust in the roof. It has a little hatch. It has the deck. It has ladders. Like it has all these little boat details that are just adorable. And one of the kind of interesting things I noticed is when you stick this thing into the water, it'll cool down the engine. So you could have this monster engine with the big fat supercharger, the strongest block. So it's like making, 1,500 horsepower because this is basically a top tier drag car configuration. And then you can go to the radiator and remove it. So this thing's going to overheat in just a matter of seconds. And then when it overheats, there's a very easy solution to that. You just dunk it in the water for a second and it'll cool right off. And we can do like a quick little donut right here. That'll put us into the danger zone where it's warning me, it's all bright red saying, hey, I'm overheating. So then we carefully drive it over to the water. And for convenience, we can just back it into the water actually. That way it's easier to get out of there. So we back it in very, very slowly. So that way it doesn't go too far into the water. And now it should start cooling down. And look how fast it cools down. Like the engine cools down in a matter of seconds. And if you were just sitting around waiting, it would take forever to cool down normally. And once it's cooled down, we can just floor it, get out of there. And it's good to drive. You can drive it around as much as you want from this point on. Like we can just do some donuts up here, get it overheated again, and go back and do that forever. Because as far as I know, there is no long-term damage from driving it like this because it cools off before it gets too hot where it causes damage. Now it's already halfway heated, and halfway heated means it's probably time to go back down and cool it off again. Because by the time we get there, it'll be overheating. At least it should be very close to overheating. Let's see, is it going to overheat before we get there? Come on! Not quite, but it was getting nice and hot. Now it's nice and cool. And I did crash it a little bit, but another neat thing is you can floor it in the water and it cools off faster than it heats up. So it's going to be running ice cold this whole time. And you can just bounce off the rev limiter until you run out of gas, I guess. But now I want to go to a different map real quickly. I want to go to the port. And we are going to make a drag version of the boat that'll hopefully be able to go over 100 miles per hour as it enters the water. So we're going to do pretty much what we saw earlier, but with more additions. We're going to give it the big V8 engine. We're going to give it the stronger block. Then we're going to give it the stage 4 supercharger. For the transmission, we'll give it the 4-speed drag transmission. And then for the suspension, first off, we want to give it the race locked rear differential so it can put down the power. And then to really make sure it puts down the power, we got to put some drag wheels on it. So we'll get the Alder Dragger 1514 rear wheels on it. And that should be enough to make it get some power down. And now I went to this map because it has a big straightaway over here we can use as kind of like a quarter-mile area to get up to speed and take this thing into the water at a really high rate of speed to see what it does. I'm hoping we reach at least 100 miles per hour. Anything more than that is just bonus. And we are going to get up to 100, and here's the bonus up to about 120. And it kind of glides across the water for a little bit, but again, the water slows it down pretty fast and nothing really happens. So how about we try something else? We're going to go from the sky and drop it into the water and see what that does. I'm pretty sure it's going to break it, but we got to try it and find out for certain. And it somehow went right side up. By completely defying physics, it ended right side up. And accelerating, unfortunately, doesn't do much at all. It kind of just makes us strafe a little bit in reverse. Yeah, it's all messed up. But why don't we take this to one more level, right? I mean, we dropped it from a medium height. Let's go for a really, really big height. It'll absolutely destroy it, but it should still float. Everything I've done so far, as I mentioned earlier, it always floats afterwards, and there it is floating, and it's spinning. I'm not accelerating to do that. It's just spinning all on its own. I could accelerate if I wanted to, and that doesn't really help at all. It's just going to keep on spinning. But you can look at the angle of the engine for the boat, and you can tell why it's just spinning. It's all messed up. So now I want to go ahead and finish this up with some Leap of Death. And for Leap of Death, I don't think we need a really high-powered version. We can probably just use the regular boat, and we'll be fine. But if we need to get a real high-powered version, we can always do that. And here is the jump coming at it at about 35 miles per hour. Oh, no! I forgot. Yeah, the boat sits really low to the ground. Of course it's going to get stuck there. Even the wheels fell off and stuff, and we can't even accelerate up this thing, can we? Nope, we're scraping and stuck. So bring it back up to the top, and we're just going to drive it off the edges then, because that's all we can do. That's literally the only option I have. So driving it off the edge and accelerating still. And ooh, wow, it really spins. Wow. I don't know if that's the crazy boat aerodynamics that really caused that, or if it was because I was accelerating. For the next run, I won't accelerate, and we'll see if we can see a difference. And yeah, it's just still spinning like mad. I'm still accelerating because I don't know if I should stop or not. we're going to accelerate the whole time on this one. The next one is the one where we won't accelerate at all. Although I noticed the frame is separating from the boat. The frame has separated from the boat, but I don't think the boat has separated from the body. I think the body is kind of intertwined with the boat. We just got to find it. There it is. So it's still making its way down Leap of Death, spiraling just as before. I do apologize for how hard it is to track this thing, but the automatic camera just wants to look at the frame of the vehicle sitting in the corner. Oh, look at this. It's going up now. It's really going up. It's not supposed to go up. This thing is actually flying. It's a helicopter. Completely defying physics, it is now flying into the air at very fast speeds. Like, if I try to get in front of it for a second, it just passes me up. What is going on? Look at this, okay? I'm going pretty fast with this camera, just going a little bit faster than them. There's a lot of distance between us at this point. I stop, shoots by me like a bullet. That's bad. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and get the drag version set up, and I'll be right back once I'm done. Okay, drag version is set up. The setup is the same as you saw just a few minutes ago at the port. Again, we have to avoid the ramp, so off the edge we go, and this time I'm not flooring it. I'm just gonna let it roll on its own. So flying through the air, it does like to do this little spiraling maneuver. If you floor it or not, it does not matter. And hopefully this one will actually make it all the way to the bottom. It's going a lot faster, so it should have less impacts, and all it has to do is have the frame hold together with the body. And it looks like it's gonna do that, and it is flying kind of unusually, like it's almost like a glider kind of motion, right? So here it is into the water. Does it float? Of course it does. Anyways, that's gonna do it for this video. Till next time, it's WhyBeAre, and remember, if you like or dislike this video, I'll know. I can tell by how well the boat floats. So do the right thing, and I'll see you next time.